Yeah, okay. So, hi everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. It is now, yes, it is February. We're at the end of February. So, thank you for coming to this latest episode of webinars with the Hermosa Beach Museum featuring one of our favorite, absolute favorite, feel-good, fantastic work, just overall delightful organizations, the Hermosa Beach Sister Cities Association. You guys just absolutely fantastic work. Some of our favorite folks. And we share a lot of similar volunteers and board members as well. Just love you guys. So we're so excited that you guys are here to share with us the story of Loretto. Thank you, Liz, you guys' current president, for being here. Actually presenting to us from Loretto, which is super cool. I don't know how much more authentic we could get at this point. So that's really exciting. And then we also have Pat and Mimi, who are, let's see. Yes, they're here. Yes, still here. Fantastic. That are going to be telling us a story about the founder of the Sister Cities Association, and George Barks, who is here for troubleshooting questions, tough to figure out answers. He's got them, folks, and he's going to give them to us. So we are so thankful to have everybody here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off because I'm just DJ tonight. So if there are any technical difficulties, I appreciate your patience in advance. And that will actually all be my fault. So Liz, you get off completely scot-free. So
yeah.
All right. So here all right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop out.
All right.
And I'll see you guys later.
Okay, and Jamie's still going to be with us. She's actually going to be working the controls. So thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
So thank you to the Hermosa Beach Historical Society Museum for inviting the Hermosa Beach Sister City Association to be with you this evening. I couldn't be happier. My name is Liz Ramirez, and I am the current president of the Sister City Association. And there are so many people that have joined us that probably know way more than I do, but I have done my best to compile the highlights for you this evening. And I look forward to you sharing your own stories and tales of our beloved sister city, Loretto. So with that, Jamie, we're going to go ahead and get started with our next slide. And there we go. Okay. So one of the things that we are the most fortunate about is that the founding father of the Sister City Association, Jack Belasco, actually wrote on paper a narrative history of the Sister City journey. And I've relied heavily on his account. You can find his entire narrative on our website. It's wonderful that he took the time to write everything out so that we really have a great historical perspective on our organization. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story as I know it, and we'll proceed from there. So Jack Belasco, then mayor of Hermosa Beach, tells us that it all started in 1966. The city council was not very happy. At that time, he was the mayor of Hermosa. And the city council was not very happy with the way a reporter from the Daily Breeze had been reporting on the issues of the former Biltmore Hotel property and its current occupants. So Mayor Belasco and city manager Harris went to go and have a hard conversation with publisher Robert Curry of the Daily Breeze. But being very thoughtful men, they didn't want to just have a meeting and complain to him. They knew that since this was going to be a hard conversation, they needed to have something positive in their pocket. So the two of them came up with the idea of asking the Daily Breeze to help with resources for finding a sister city for Hermosa. They knew that the Breeze had supported Redondo and other local cities with resources to begin Sister City program that they were hoping to get that support for Hermosa. They really wanted to improve Hermosa's image in the media. Next slide, Jamie. So what is a sister city? In the 1950s, President Dwight D. Eisenhower believed that politicians and political diplomacy were not enough to ensure peace between countries. He envisioned a better world where citizens, people to people, would lead the way to peace and understanding. And thus was born the idea of sister cities. By the mid-60s, Manhattan Beach was already sister cities with Culiacan, Mexico. And Redondo Beach was sister cities with Ensenada, Mexico. So why not Hermosa? Loretto is currently sister cities with both Hermosa Beach since 1967 and Ventura since 2015. Along with the sister city relationship with Ventura, Loretto's National Marine Park is now sister parks with the Channel Islands Marine Park. And the mission of Loretto is sister missions with the mission of San Buenaventura in Ventura. Additionally, Cerritos has also organized as what they call a friend of Loretto. This came about following a tragic airline crash in August of 1986. Aeromexico Flight 498 from Mexico City, with stops in Guadalajara, Loreto, and Tijuana, crashed in Cerritos when it collided with a smaller plane on approach to LAX. 70 people in both planes and on the ground lost their lives that day. The city and the people of Cerritos bonded over that tragedy with the Loretanos and began a relationship through donations for the hospital in Loretto. And they have continued to support Loretto in many ways. Most recently, helping Tulare County, and again, thank you to Luis Navarez, the chief of the Tulare County Fire Department, in bringing a fire truck, a donated fire truck, down to Loretto. Next slide, Jamie. So let's get back to Hermosa Beach in 1966. At that time, Jack Belasco recalled that most Hermosans worked elsewhere and came home each day to enjoy the beach life. No one was really clamoring for a sister city. But at the same time, America was entering the jet set age. Middle class was booming. More people were flying to explore foreign destinations. For Californians, Mexico, and especially the Baja Peninsula, was close, cheap, and exotic. So on your slide, you see the original list of the official steering committee. Although it's not listed here in the official record, many wives also participated. Jack Belasco's wife, Evelyn, Jack Wise's wife, Betty, and Dr. Alva Dez's wife, Noma, to name a few. Just remember that much of this history was written by Jack Belasco many years after the fact. Next slide. The committee felt strongly that they should seek a relationship with a city that had some similarities with our community. They studied and looked for cities that weren't taken already, and they came up with a short list to study and discuss, and that's what you see on your screen. There were seven cities that they considered, and you can see which ones they were and what kinds of things they thought about. But it was really Jack Wise who put forth the most persuasive arguments to choose Loretto. Number one, even though it was difficult to get to, it seemed that help was on the way. Mexico, as a country, was determined to build a road the length of the Baja Peninsula, and work was nearly completed on the part from La Paz to Loretto. Another reason, Ed Tabor was an American who took up residency and owned a business in Loretto. He regularly offered plane service from Tijuana and Mexicali to his Flying Sportsman Lodge in Loretto. The third reason was the historical importance of the community. It was the site of the first mission built in the Californias, and I mean all the Californias, Baja and Alta California. It was also the first seat of government for the territory of Baja California in the Mexican government. In the Spanish government. Jack had recently visited the area also, and he loved the fishing. He took a side trip to Loretto from his main trip to La Paz as a guest of Redondo Beach when they were putting out feelers to extend sister city relationships with La Paz. And his informal feelers received a positive response from the Loretto community leaders. So in March of 1967, the committee officially submitted their recommendation to the Hermosa Beach City Council to approach Loretto to become sister cities. So let's talk about Loretto a little bit. Next slide, Jamie. Where is Loretto? Loretto is located in the southern Baja Peninsula on the Sea of Cortez side. For me, I always describe it like this. It's a 2-day drive from Hermosa, because the way I've always done it, when my destination was Loretto, we would drive 10 hours the first day, and 8 hours the second day, and then we'd be in Loretto. It's approximately 830 miles from Hermosa to Loretto. And let's talk historical significance. Loretto is the site of the first successful mission and Spanish town of the Baja California Peninsula. Loretto was founded in October of 1697. There were earlier unsuccessful attempts at colonization of the Baja Peninsula. Hernando Cortez tried at La Paz in 1535. The Spanish explorers and missionaries also tried again unsuccessfully at a place called San Bruno, just north of Loretto, in 1683 to 85. It was just, with Baja, you need a place that has water and has friendly Indians. When the Spaniards first arrived in the Baja California area in 1539, they believed they had reached a mythical island of female warriors governed by Queen Calafia. The earliest record of this myth appears in a book called The Exploits of the Very Powerful Cavalier Esplandian, son of the excellent King Amadis of Gaul. It was written by Garcia Ordóñez Montalvo 18 years earlier, so basically in 1520. This tale is believed to have been very influential to Hernando Cortez. The book reads, "Know that on the right hand of the Indies there is an island called California, very close to the side of the terrestrial paradise, and it is peopled by black women without any man among them, for they live in the manner of Amazons." Upon landing in the Baja Peninsula, the Spaniards believed they had found the island of California. Further exploration later revealed that it was a peninsula, not an island, but the name California stuck, and it then became Baja, or Lower California, and Alta, or Upper California, for the California that we know. After the two unsuccessful attempts at establishing a Spanish presence on the peninsula, the Jesuit missionary Juan Maria de Salvatierra arrived at a Monkey Indian settlement called Concho, which might have meant water in their language, and founded a mission in honor of Our Lady of Loretto, because Salvatierra was devoted to Our Lady of Loretto in Italy, naming the mission site Nuestra Señora de Loreto Concho. And that was how Loretto was born. The King of Spain later expelled the Jesuits from Mexico in 1767 and now enter the Franciscans, who went on to found many missions, especially in Alta California, which is what our fourth graders in California are taught, all about Junipero Serra. Then the Franciscans were ordered to turn over control of the Baja missions to the Dominicans in 1769. Fun fact, only 3 California missions are still under control of the Franciscan order: Santa Barbara, San Miguel Archangel, and San Luis Rey de Francia. Loretto was the capital of California, both Alta and Baja California, for the Spanish government from 1697 to 1777, 90 years. In 1778, Monterey became the capital of Alta California. Baja California Norte became a state in Mexico in 1952, but Baja California Sur, which includes Loretto, did not become a state of Mexico until 1974, which was actually after we became sister cities. Next slide. When the early explorers and missionaries arrived on the Baja Peninsula, they found 4 ethnic groups here. The Pericu in the south, located between Cabo San Lucas and La Paz, and on several islands in the Gulf. They enhanced their fishing methods by building wooden rafts and other simple forms of watercraft. The Waikura, which occupied the area north of the Pericu, from La Paz to south of Loretto. The Monkey also lived near Loretto. And the final group was the Cochimi, who ranged throughout the middle of the Baja Peninsula. Excuse me. Most of these tribes were hunter-gatherers, lacking agriculture or metallurgy. However, they produced pottery and were fairly skilled fishermen. There are remains of cave paintings near Loretto that date back to this period. Next slide. So let's get back to the 60s and Hermosa Beach's quest for a sister city. Some of the committee members flew from Long Beach Airport to Loretto. I'm actually not sure if they flew on Ed Tabor's plane of the Flying Sportsman Lodge, but I know for sure that they had corresponded with him and he offered to help and support them. And I do know that they flew from the Long Beach Airport to Loretto. The photo on your screen is actually from 1957. I'm unable to find any from the 1967 trip, but I am hoping they exist. I know we have a drawer at the city's community center, but I haven't been able to access it due to pandemic, and now I'm in Loretto. But maybe when I get back to the South Bay this summer, I can rummage around. Next slide. So I'd like to introduce you to the first impressions of the committee as told by Jack Belasco. I'm going to have our friend John Herger read Jack's words.
Early in the morning, we walked the town. We were impressed by the safe drinking water system and even more impressed by the litter-free, neat dirt and blacktop streets. Oil drums on the corner were used for trash. Imported trees, olive and date palms, softened the dry desert atmosphere. The homes were simple, made for living in a tropic clime. They managed on a 3-inch annual rainfall. Plants had to be watered or they died. Grass was scarce. Long after the founding of the first of the California missions in Loretto, English pirates had used the town as a hideaway. They commingled, leaving an unusual proportion of blondes and hazel eyes among Loretanos. Some names also stand out. Two families who dominated the Loretanos' life was named Davis and Ramirez. We later met Ildefonso Green Guarazar, who became president of the Loretto Sister City Committee. We soon knew him as Al Green. Al was a warm and outgoing man. He's no longer with us and we miss him. Most of the Loretanos were proud, dignified, and reserved. They worked hard for little pay. They had little money for frills and less time for fools. They lived in a sea oasis surrounded by a desert that could be quite harsh. That kind of living developed a self-reliance plus unusually high degree of community cooperation. They had survived devastating storms, floods, and droughts. One time, the town almost vanished. There was daily evidence of grit, determination, and sweat equity. Modern medical treatment was scarce. At the time, they nicknamed the local doctor, Dr. Penicillin, because he seemed to prescribe it for everything. They had no working dental facilities. Our Dr. Valdez made note of this and for many years worked to upgrade the dental care in Loretto. Loretanos worked on distant farms or at that time on the road from La Paz. What money was available, they put into their school. It was quite modern, with one-story classrooms surrounding a long patio. The school also became a dormitory at night for the children of distant workers. I know it was the children that won Evelyn's heart, and she went on to pioneer the best of the children-to-children cultural exchange programs. Much later, after Evelyn died and I had married Patricia Wooley, we visited Loretto again, and Patricia also fell in love with the children of Loretto, and she volunteered art lessons at the school. They are very easy to love.
Thank you so much for that, John. And the next slide, please, Jamie. So after that trip, the committee came back and told the city of Hermosa Beach that Loretto was willing to be sister cities with us. And on November 7th, 1967, the Hermosa Beach City Council officially made Loretto their sister city, our sister city. Next slide. So Jack mentioned, as told by John, Jack mentioned that his wife was on that trip with them and fell in love with the children of Loretto. In 1967, Jack Belasco's wife, Evelyn, was a 5th grade teacher at Valley Vista School in Hermosa Beach, and she was part of the committee that visited in August. He mentions in his narrative that she pioneered the best children-to-children cultural exchange program. And what he's referring to is that in the fall, following the committee's visit to Loretto, Evelyn taught her class about Hermosa's new sister city. Her students were so enthusiastic and they all wanted to know more about Loretto. They decided to write a letter to the students of Loretto, and they enclosed drawings of places around Hermosa. They couldn't wait to hear back from their new friends. The Daily Breeze published an article on November 9th, 1967, which you can read in its entirety on our website. I noticed that HBSCA friend Randy Landis was among the children in Mrs. Belasco's class, and he is mentioned in the article as having drawn a picture of Hermosa Beach's City Hall. The children named the things they would like to see, and Randy Landis is quoting as saying, "But most of all, I want to see the fishing lodge." The article ends with the following statement. Betsy Green seemed to sum up the class feelings best. "I don't have any friends from Mexico, but I would like to have one," she said. Just for historical accuracy, as you look at this slide, I need to mention that this is not an actual photo of Evelyn's class. I was unable to find that. And it is not the actual letter written by her students. But on our website, you will find a typed version of the November 1967 Daily Breeze article. I'm still trying to access the actual newspaper copy of the article, and I'm hoping it has a picture that goes with it. So please visit our website to read the entire article. Many of the students mentioned by name in it could be your neighbors. Next slide. Well, Evelyn Belasco kicked off the cultural exchange, but it was really Hermosa Beach Sister City Association members Joe and Marie Diaz that are credited for initiating our long-standing, congressionally recognized student exchange program in 1974. It's one of the longest running middle school exchange programs in the country. This past year for 2020, and it looks like again 2021, our families in the South Bay and our Loretto families are heartbroken because we were forced to cancel our trip due to the global pandemic. The way I heard the origin story of how this all got started was that one day Joe and Marie Diaz were visiting Loretto. They were with their granddaughter, Monica. She was swimming in a pool, playing with Mexican children and having a wonderful time. And Joe Diaz got the idea, wow, what if we brought Hermosa Beach students to Loretto and Loretto students up to Hermosa? What better way for a people-to-people program to flourish than through the friendships of children? The Diaz's granddaughter, Monica Frey, tells the story of the very first trip to Loretto in a video that we made celebrating 40 years of sister cityhood. Can you go to the next slide and start the video, Jamie?
And then the following year, 1975, the children from Hermosa Beach came to Loreto for the first time.
And back then we went on a bus down to Tijuana and then took a flight down from Tijuana to Loretto. Now back then that flight took 4 hours.
My daughter participated in the Sister City exchange program one year, and it was a wonderful experience for her. I think it's a wonderful experience for all the children that participate.
They took us to places like the salt mines across the way. We went on boats. We went to turtle bakes, clam bakes, things that we had never been exposed to before, and just dances and, you know, people's houses, and mostly we like to play on the malecon.
You heard the voices of Gloria Benziger of Loretto. Her daughter, Ana Gloria, was a student exchange participant and still owns the family hotel Oasis here in Loretto. You also heard from former Hermosa Beach Mayor J.R. Ravisky and his daughter, who participated in the program as well. Next slide. I'd like to tell you about another signature program that the Sister City has with Loretto, and that is our paramedic training program. In around 1997, Dr. Primo Maraver of Loretto was very impressed with the U.S. paramedic system, and he thought it could be a great gift to the people of Loretto. I'm going to introduce Pat Wooley Belasco, who remembers the conversation between Dr. Primo and her late husband, Jack Belasco, that planted the idea. Jamie, can you open up for Pat, please?
Okay, am I on?
You are.
I'm on, okay. Yes, I can remember back in, it was probably in 1988 that we were in Loretto. Let me go back a sec. I think it's kind of fun to hear how we got to Loretto at that time. Claude Stonier, who was the, I believe, the police chief in Hermosa Beach at that time. Claude and Mary Stonier and the friend Gloria Spencer and Jack and I took our Volkswagen vans and we drove to Loretto. And we had heard that they needed, in the hospital where Dr. Primo worked, they really needed medical supplies. So we were able to get all kinds, they needed folding cots and they needed drugs of all kinds, and which we were able to get. So we loaded up our Volkswagen vans with all of this supplies. We had to go down to the consulate on Navarez Street and get the consul to give us a letter so that we could pass through the border, because we were taking drugs into Mexico, not what we often hear, the other way around. And but anyway, we got through the border just fine. But in those days, nobody had a cell phone, but we had CBs, right? Is that what it is? Yeah. And everybody had a handle, you know. I think I was Beach Mama and Jack was, I don't know, Jack Daddy or something ridiculous. But the roads were not terribly good driving down there. And oftentimes there would be animals all over the roads. And we came around one curve and there were a bunch of donkeys all just sitting in the road and just taking their time. So we had to get on the CB and call back to the Stoniers and say, hey, wait a minute, go slow, because anyway, but it was a fun trip down there. And we gave all the supplies to Dr. Primo, but they were to go to his hospital. But at the time, we had a conversation with the doctor and with Cecilia Fisher, who I believe is still in Loretto. And the four of us were at the, I think, Hotel Presidente. And Dr. Primo said, what we really need is a paramedic program. We need our bomberos, who do a great job. But if they get into, you pick up somebody from an accident, for instance, I mean, they can treat them at the spot, but if they've had a stroke or something, they don't have the education to really treat them. They have to take them to the hospital. Well, if the accident is quite away from the hospital, oftentimes a patient will have died in the meantime. So they said, we need to have the firemen, go through a paramedic training. So when we got back to Hermosa, as Jack had been, a former mayor, I mean, he was still knew some of the firemen, and we were able to get Paul Hawkins and Kim Bridges, and the Sister City, we talked to these two firemen to go down to Loretto. And I think that the first time they went down there was, I think maybe in, I can't remember exactly the date. You may have that date.
I have it.
On it. Okay. And I think we actually said that, that Jack and I kind of funded their trips down there so that, it wouldn't take too much money out of the Sister City coffers. But this had been going on, and to my knowledge, the firemen in Loretto have now been trained to the point that they can actually train new firemen that come in to the program. And I think this is wonderful that they, and it is thanks to Paul Hawkins and Kim or any of the other firemen from Hermosa that went down there. I might just say, have a little aside, that the founder of the Los Angeles County Paramedics was a very, very dear friend of, it was Dr. Michael Criley, who was a boyhood friend of my first husband, John Wooley. So it all kind of tied in there together. And I mean, it has been really a wonderful program. And I think the Sister City is very proud of our paramedics and the paramedics in Loretto.
We sure are, Pat, and we thank you so much for all of your support. You've been great. You've done information for our members at our meetings, and I'm really happy that you have participated with us and were able to tell us and share that origin story for us.
Oh, thank you.
After this conversation that Pat and Jack and Celia Fisher had, Jack came back and was able to talk with our Hermosa Beach Fire Department, Paul Hawkins, Kim Bridges, and I don't know if at the very beginning, but then for sure very quickly on, Mike Garofano. In October of 1999, they went down and conducted the first paramedic training in Loretto. And at that time, Loretto didn't have a full-blown fire department. They had a lot of volunteers. And so what was happening was we were, as Pat mentioned, Pat and Jack were supporting, and the sister cities were supporting Paul and his team to go down a couple times a year, but they just kept training first aid. And they were very instrumental in actually working with Loretto and explaining how necessary it is to have the same firefighters stay as firefighters, because once they're trained, and what Paul did was which was so amazing, he actually took the United States paramedic training program, working with universities and translators, translated the entire training and also the testing. And every Loretto bombero, in order to be called a paramedico, they had to pass the U.S. certification for paramedics. And they were pretty much the only paramedics in Mexico for a long time, because Mexico was only doing emergency medical technician training. So that all started in 1999. In 2010, Paul, Mike, and Kim were awarded the Hermosa Beach Sister City International Humanitarian Award. And I'd like you to listen now to, from that same documentary that we made at our 40th anniversary, I'd like you to listen to J.R. Ravisky again and to Paul Hawkins and hear what they had to say about it. Jamie, will you play the video clip, please? Nope, go back. It's on the same slide. Yeah.
He has long had a fire department, and they didn't have any paramedic program. And there was interest in Loretto and also in Hermosa Beach to establish some type of paramedic program for the city of Loretto. Several of our firefighters volunteered to go down on their own time, and basically started teaching first aid CPR to some of the hotels and the police and the firemen.
About 2 years into it, we realized that we were training a huge number of people. But we realized that without the infrastructure of a fire department with full-time paid paramedics, that we could teach everybody in the whole city certain skills, and that it really wasn't going to make an appreciable difference.
After several trips teaching first aid and CPR, the firemen became so enthused that they wanted more. So our paramedics put together a program, an evolving program that got ever more difficult. And now the city of Loretto is certainly the only city on the Baja Peninsula that has trained paramedics. It may be the only city in Mexico that has paramedics trained to U.S. standards. We make a nice gesture when they graduate. We have a firefighter paramedic badge made here in the States, and we go down there and present them with the badge and a proclamation from the city as a reward for their hard work, and they proudly wear that badge everywhere.
Wait.
Thank you. In October of 2019, we actually celebrated 20 years of our paramedic training program. We hosted a gathering at the Oasis Hotel in Loretto. We honored Dr. Primo Maraver with the International Humanitarian Award, and Paul Hawkins and Mike Garofano were able to join us. We invited all of the Loretto Bomberos and those that have passed the paramedic training and are paramedics, as well as representatives of the Loretto government. It was a really wonderful, beautiful night. Next slide, Jamie. So I'm sure that some of you have heard that I actually am now living in Loretto. For me, as a young child traveling the Baja Peninsula, and as an adult bringing my children down to visit Loretto, it's always been one of my favorite places, and I am living a dream being able to live here now. So one of my favorite things to do is to share the wonders of Loretto with people who have not visited before. And this is kind of how I describe it. For all its history, Loretto is still a lovely, quiet town. There are still cobblestone streets. There are still unpaved streets. And I always start off visitors in our main plaza, where the Ayuntamiento, or City Hall building, is the seat of government for the town as well as the municipality. The mission of Nuestra Señora de Loreto Concho is right down the block, and a wonderful mission museum is right next door, where you can learn even more than the brief historical overview I've provided you. The famous tree-lined walk street is the actual beginning of the Camino Real, as it was from here that all of the California missions, both Baja and Alta California, had their origins. Now there are many artisanal shops and restaurants to delight visitors and locals alike. And of course, there is the Loretto Bay National Marine Park. We also were part of that, the Hermosa Beach Sister City Association, in conjunction with the U.S.-Mexico Sister City Association, hosted an amazing environmental conference in January of 2000. And out of that collaboration was born the impetus to actually found the Loretto Bay National Marine Park. It is now a World Heritage Site and a nature reserve. It's home to 80% of Pacific Ocean marine life. This gigantic marine park consists of 5 main islands of volcanic origin. The most popular is Isla Coronado. It's an idyllic place for boat trips, snorkeling, diving, picnicking, walking along a white sandy beach. The distinctive volcanic coned island is home to flying fish, dolphins, sea lions. And the Sea of Cortez has truly earned its nickname given to it by Jacques Cousteau as the Aquarium of the Pacific. Behind Loretto are the Sierra La Giganta mountain range and also Mission San Javier. The Sierra La Giganta mountain range is almost 365 kilometers long and over 1.5 million hectares of volcanic landscapes, rich in flora and fauna. They are spectacularly beautiful, especially in the morning sun. The scenic and winding road up into the mountains ends at Mission San Javier, which was the second mission of the Californias. You could take a walk around the mission, explore the old gardens, the remains of aqueducts built by Indians and priests, and stop in to see an olive tree that is over 300 years old. The town of San Javier is a tiny hamlet, but it provides the outlying ranchos that are spread throughout the mountainous area with a place to bring in goods to be sold and schooling and for their students. One of our Loretto paramedicos who was trained in Loretto actually lives up in San Javier, and he is able to provide those necessary skills to San Javier. There are so many things to do to enjoy Loretto, as you can see from the list on your screen. I think you can see why those very first Hermosans fell in love with Loretto and why the Hermosa Beach Sister City Association continues the relationship after over 50 years. Next slide. So I'd just like to end with a couple fun facts about the Sister City Association. We are a nonprofit association, a 503c3, governed by bylaws. We raise money through fundraising. We are entirely volunteer organization. We meet monthly. We are community minded and are members of the Chamber of Commerce. We participate when able. Now in this, we haven't been able for the last year, but we have always participated in the St. Patrick's Day Parade, in the Hermosa Fiesta. We like to have a booth down at the Hermosa tree lighting. We attend city council meetings. We actually have a liaison from City Council that participates in our meetings. This year's members are Stacy Armato and Justin Macy, and we thank them for their participation and support. We hope you might consider supporting our work by becoming a member, and we look forward to any questions or comments that you would like to share at this time. I thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, I'm gonna take my screen share off and put us on gallery. Very cool. Okay, so I'm sorry, I have one question that immediately comes to mind, and George, you can always jump into. How do you get the fire trucks down there? Do you guys drive them? Do you ship them? How does that happen?
That's a great question. I just learned. So three fire trucks have been donated over the years that I'm aware of. This most recent one I was very involved in. So I can tell you that it all began with Luis Navarez, the chief of the Tulare County, the Tulare City Fire Department. He reached out to the LA Bomberos Foundation, and they reached out to Cerritos Friends of Loretto to find a way to bring this fire truck. It's a 1999 fire truck down to Loretto. And he and his guys drove it to Los Angeles. Los Angeles and Cerritos donated equipment, like brand new tires for it, fixed it up, cleaned it up.
Wow.
They're still in the process of donating hoses and ladders and everything that it needs. But then the LA Bomberos, they drove it to the border. You have to have someone at Aduana, which is customs. They actually help you with all the paperwork to get it across the border. And then Hermosa Sister Cities, Cerritos, and the city of Loretto paid for 3 bomberos, Comandante Ruben, firefighter Eduardo, and firefighter Loreto, to come up, pick up the truck at the border at Tecate, and drive it home to Loretto. So on our Facebook page, you'll see a video of the car. I think they got into town here in Loretto about 10 p.m. and sirens blazing off the highway, making a lot of noise and ruckus. But it was a very exciting day for us.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm picturing people peeking out going, what's going on over there? So
I believe the process took quite a long time, but we're hoping to be able to maybe get another truck donated. And now we've got a lot of kinks worked out, and we're hoping that we can get it to happen a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody who's still here has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A box. We have the experts here. I'm kind of keeping an eye on everything. Well, I'm just going to go through some of my questions. So Pat, do we now officially have to call you Beach Mama if we see you in public?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
You may if you'd like, but I don't have my CB anymore. That's the thing.
Okay, I do have a question. So what is the population of Loretto? So I'm guessing that's the current population of Loretto. How many people are there?
So it's very close to Hermosa Beach's population, and you have to remember that Loretto is its own town as well as a municipality. It's also a county of Baja California. So at last look, and I'll have to Google it again and see where we are. We were at about 20,000 people.
Okay, that's a pretty good number though. Oh Oh, I'm sorry, Liz, this is for you. Do we get any sister cities discounts if we visit?
Yes, if you are a member of the Hermosa Beach Sister City Association, let me know when you book and I will definitely give you a discount.
Oh my gosh, fantastic. Pratik, you and Roseanne are gonna have to go. It'd be a fantastic trip. Okay, so is the road to get there, I'm guessing that might be the one that you said they built that goes down the peninsula. Has
Highway
it
One.
improved at all?
It's
And where
it's
do you
it's
stay? Where do you stay on after you do the 10-hour?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's under constant construction. Okay, so parts of the road can be great, and sometimes, especially if we've had big storms, there can be parts washed out. But it's under constant construction by both Baja California Norte and Baja California Sur, trying to take good care of it. My first 10 hours is Hermosa to a little town called Catavenia. And Catavenia has nothing except a gas station and a hotel where people stay because they're on the road down the way. So there, lots of people, there's lots of forums for driving down Baja. Just remember, the first rule of Baja is get gas every time you see a gas station, because the next gas station you come to might not have any gas, or you might not get there in time. So you always get gas all the way down the Baja.
Oh man,
and there are direct flights. Alaska Airlines flies direct from LA direct to Loretto. It's an hour and 45-minute flight.
Oh, that's not bad at all. That's like barely enough time to get a cocktail down and, a couple pages of a magazine out. So
right.
Oh my gosh. So how has COVID affected any of the schools and the businesses? I know that I chatted with you briefly about this for our practice run, but how has it impacted life for the people living there?
So it was really, really bad. And there were some organizations here that did some amazing work helping everybody. I would say that Loretto really depends on tourism. So many people here are involved in the tourist industry. Even fishing, captains that go out and commercially fish, they also take tourists out fishing for sports fishing. So Eco Alianza is an environmental group here in Loretto, a nonprofit. They literally changed during in April of the pandemic from being an environmental group to taking on a humanitarian purpose. And the Hermosa Beach Sister Cities, we donated and reached out to help them. They basically created a food support program for people directly impacted by having no Loretto was completely locked down, no one in and out. They even had like a station out on the highway telling people, no, you don't live here, drive on by. So they did a good job with it, but it really impacted people. So other businesses in town, like Orlando's Restaurant, the former owner of Casa Mangos, where I am, and Gretchen Bell of El Gitano Wine Bar, they also banded together and distributed food. Hermosa Beach Sister City worked with the DIF, which is like Health and Human Services Department, and we also provided bags of groceries and sundries items to people that had been cut off from government aid. So it definitely affected. We are now in Loretto. We are at Mexico has a 6-tier COVID program, the stoplight program, and we were at level 5 and we've just gone down to level 4, which is nice. It means that restaurants can be open until 10. So much is outside here that I just feel very different than I did in the United States. And it's a very small town and small area. So that feels really good. But you can see a lot there. We have a lot of the same things going on with mask shaming and what's going on with this and what's going on with that. The same is happening everywhere.
Of course, because no matter where you put humans, we'll all kind of still have the same little things going on. Okay, and according to Densey and Wikipedia, the population of Loretto, the town, is 20,385, very specific.
I was so close.
Yeah, Metro, 21,071. You were right on the money. Right on the money. Oh my goodness. And then, okay, wasn't Amparito Doolittle an important part of our relationship due to her bilingual abilities?
Yes, Amparito. In fact, Amparito, so many people remember her down here so loving and fondly. She was a big part of the student exchange program and the adult trip coming down. And because she was bilingual, she did so much between sister cities and the actual people here in Loretto. It was wonderful. And she's still just such a huge part of the sister city program. We just haven't seen her in a little while.
Oh, okay. So George, you've been very quiet. What do you like to do when you visit Loretto? What's your favorite thing about the place? Tell me about it. What do you think?
Well, my favorite, well, there are many favorite things. First of all, the people. As I was looking at the chats, that some of the people said how friendly they are. I mean, their hearts and their arms are just open to us, and it's just a really beautiful little seaside village, fishing village, and they're so nice, and you just feel at home, and they make you feel like you're still in the South Bay, and that I enjoy, and also the quaintness, and the Sea of Cortez, really, as Jack Cousteau said, it is worldwide known, and going to the Coronado Island and the sandy beaches, and it's just so you feel so relaxed. It's a tranquil feeling that you have there, and seeing the history, the first mission, the museum there that shows you the history of the Baja Peninsula, and then going to the second mission, San Javier, and where 100 people live, maybe 150 now, and the 300-plus-year-old olive tree, and seeing an international airport. When this all started, it was just a dirt landing strip, and Ed Tabor was bringing fishermen, not only from Long Beach, from Tijuana and Mexicali, but from Ontario. And I really believe, Pat, and I've talked to Dr. Collins and he can't recall, but I think they flew from Long Beach on Ed Tabor's plane, because there weren't any commercial flights. There wasn't an airport there. It was a landing strip. He had a DC-3 plane, and he had this Flying Sportsman's Lodge where all the fishermen went. And the fishing was just, it's not as good today as it was years ago, but it was a paradise for fishermen. And it's just, you've got to go with us, Jamie.
No, I definitely want to go. It's on my list. And luckily my husband speaks Spanish, so he can help me out and make sure I don't wander off.
And we should mention that that the sister city organizes, in addition to the student exchange and the paramedic training program, every year, obviously not during a pandemic, but every year we organize an adult trip down to Loretto, and we bring families and members and friends of members, and frankly, anyone that wants to join us to come down. And we organize, some people come down for a long weekend, a 4-day time. Some people come down for a whole week, and we organize activities, cooking classes, trips to Coronado, trips to San Javier, and people just fall in love with this lovely, quaint town. So,
oh my gosh, I think I heard cooking class. That's my jam right there. Nicole is saying, Jamie, let's go. We're gonna have to go. And I think you said, is it Mimi's going to come visit you?
Yes, she is. She's coming down soon.
She said, I'm coming. That's fantastic. And then, okay, so what's the best month to go? When's the best weather? I know you said summer's hot.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what you like. And sports fishermen know there are different seasons. We come down in October because that's the founding. Loretto was founded. They celebrate Founding Day on October 25th every year. And they were founded in 1697. And so we try and organize our adult trips around that. The weather is starting to be not quite as hot. So it gets it to almost 100 degrees at the hottest time, which is August, September. Can be pretty hard to do anything except be in a pool or in the ocean. But the snorkeling and the diving is fabulous during the summer and the fall. This is the first year I spent all winter down here, and I had to bring my Ugg boots from home. When the wind comes up, it can be chilly. We've had a very windy February, which is not, people are saying is not typical, but it's been a very windy February. I was just out on a boat all day yesterday in my shorts and my bathing suit on a beach with no people. We saw blue whales. The blue whale season can be anytime from December through March, but it's mostly February. So if you want to come down and see whales, come in February. Spring is also great. We bring the students down in the spring. I highly recommend April and May. It's just starting to warm up. But if you don't like it hot, I'd avoid July, August, September. But if you like it hot, come on down. I've come down in the summer many times.
I would like to also add, Jamie, that in October, because as you know, Liz just said, October 25th is their anniversary.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's so festive. And then they have taste at Loretto, just like Taste at the Beach that the Kiwanis does here. And that is so well done. Now, they had to cancel it because of COVID last year.
Yeah.
Probably can't do it again this year, but let's keep our fingers crossed. But it is really, sample all the cuisine from all the restaurants in Loretto, and well done.
It is a great foodie town. It's a great foodie town. We have amazing chefs here.
Yeah.
The Oasis Hotel puts on Saturday nights, they do the traditional clam bake. I think it's called tatamada. And it's basically they bury clams in the sand in front of the hotel and put a special tree branches on top of it, set it all on fire, and then they dig them up and serve them to you. They're amazing.
Oh, that's so cool.
A special clam here called the chocolata. And that doesn't mean that it's chocolate flavored. It just means that the shell has kind of a chocolate tint to it. And they're delicious. So it's an amazing foodie culture down here as well.
And you can have your cocktails, your margaritas, and watch them bake these clams. That's really interesting to watch as well.
That sounds fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sold. I'm booking my vacation package. Don't tell my husband. Tell my dog to go run and get my wallet real quick. So okay, two more questions I have here. Are you guys currently? Are there vaccines available for the citizens of Loretto yet?
Yes, so Loretto has begun vaccinating. They have the same kind of system as we have, where they're first doing the frontline workers. So they've got doctors and hospital workers, paramedics and firefighters, police department. They're also vaccinating older adults as well first. So they have begun that. Permanent residents of Mexico, so foreigners who have permanent residency in Mexico are eligible and will be eligible to get the vaccine. But for example, I have a temporary residency, and so I am not eligible. And my plan is still to go home to the United States to get my vaccine. But they are, even here in Loretto, they have started vaccinations.
That's wonderful. Progress, little by little.
Now, the vaccine that they're using in Loretto is the AstraZeneca, developed in Oxford and produced in India and Argentina.
And they're also using the, in Mexico, I don't know specifically here for Loretto, but they are also using the Russian vaccine as well.
And I got mine today.
Congratulations.
Pfizer. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm still alive.
I did want to, Jamie, am I allowed to say the name of my hotel out loud?
Of course. No, somebody asked the question, so you have to.
They asked. I saw that.
So I did purchase a small boutique hotel here. I live on the property in a small apartment. I only have 5 rooms. They're studios with kitchens and king size beds, and it's called Casa Mangos, like mangoes, but Spanish mango. And you can find me online at casamangosloreto.com.
Perfect. Okay. I mean, nobody can resist it at this point. We have an inn, we have a place to stay. There's food, there's drink, there's history. Everybody.
That's everything.
Able to. So, Okay, I don't see, do we have any more questions? Anybody? Oh my gosh. So George, how did Liz do? Did she do a good job? I think she did a good job.
Excellent job. You did very well, Liz.
Thank you, George. Thank you.
Really
Fantastic presenter.
superb, Liz.
I want to thank Pat and Mimi, her technical advisor. I want to thank John Herger for all his help, and Jamie. I want to thank you for allowing us to spend the night with you, and everyone who's told stories to me over all the years I've been with Sister City. I tried to include as many stories as I could.
Oh my gosh. No, it was so fun to have you guys on. This was definitely a presentation I was looking forward to because I adore you, Liz, and the association you guys have. You do a fantastic job. This was definitely kind of like a fun night. So thank you for being part of it. You guys have been such a huge part of our history. Thank you so much, Pat, for sharing the story about Jack. What a special guy, and what a legacy he kind of created for us to look back on and admire.
Absolutely.
History in the making, folks. It's out there. It's happening right now. So write it down.
And do look at please visit Hermosa Beach Sister City Association, our webpage, hb-sistercity.org. Also, we have a Facebook page because the history, all the articles from Daily Breeze, all of that stuff. I do a monthly newsletter. All of that stuff is on our website. So we hope that you will check us out.
Yes, and I'm going to be linking the full feature-length documentary from Rick. So if you guys want to catch there were so many clips, it was hard to pick. So you guys will be able to check that out on your own time. And yeah, it's up on YouTube, folks. And we're going to have a recording of this up on YouTube by tomorrow for all of our folks that were at all the million Zoom meetings across the nation right now.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yes, thank you, Liz. Thank you, Pat, Mimi, and thank you, George. George, you got to tell some stories to me sometime.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be in touch with you soon. Yes, I'd love to.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I'm going to send you an email so you know where to find me.
Okay.
Everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you all soon, and hopefully we'll maybe see some folks in Loretto at some point.
I hope so. I wait for you here.
Oh,
Okay,
bye, guys.
Bye-bye.